That just when you think it can't get any more annoying, it delayed. Oh, okay. This is a real test of my perfection. Yeah, all the Stoic Jew podcast was just building up for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You think taking Claudio's bad?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So our goal, even though we shouldn't really have goals, is to finish Hilchos Deios today. Or not Hilchos Deios. That's funny. Yeah. But if we get caught up, then we got caught up. And then we'll just, yeah. Okay. So we're on 2 Zion. Lo yi adam bal skok v'hetel. Well, there goes all the fun. A person shouldn't be a joker, bal skok. I don't know, he said whatever. And hetel is like foolishness. I don't know what the connotations are between these things, but you'll see it from the opposite. V'lo atziv v'onein, and not sad and like mournful. Yeah, like that. But ready to be happy. So these seem to be like extremes. What I would say is like the type of scope he's talking about is like giddiness and like there are certain people who just can't be serious, like, and there's a personality side, and then the people who are just always despondent. You should be content. You should be happy. Okay, so yeah.
It also sounds like part of distressing is like the consistency of either extreme. That's like the problem. Like if you're like always overly giddy or whatever, and
Right.
Like you said, can't be serious, or you're always super sad. I suppose just like
right. Certainly, being sad about things that are worth being sad about, or when you're mourning, or when you are, what was it? For Yitzchak and Rivka, does he use the word skok or sakok? I don't know if I'm thinking that because his name is Yitzchak or not.
Same. I'm having the same feeling.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Laughing, joking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Only one way to find out. Well, there's 2 ways. But yeah, he wants that one. Meanwhile, I mean, I think it does say mitzachek. That doesn't mitzachek. Mitzachek. Oh no. So wait. Yeah. It's mitzachek es rivka ishto. You know, you talk mitzachek es rivka ishto. But is there a spoke thing in the so much the sachachta? No, the shachachta. No, I guess it's not. I'm imagining it. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think if there's a time for spoke. According to Claus, there is. Ace spoke. The ace. I think. Let's just see. I mean, and now I'm curious in terms of how Koheles, what if it says the opposite is the same thing. I think it says litkos. I think it says to cry, but let's check it out. What do you think?
The superior in Koheles is very much in line with all this.
Yeah, that's true. I had forgotten that when we did it. Ace, litkos, the ace litkos. Yeah, there's a time to cry and a time to laugh. Right. Yeah.
Are we talking about the particular instances of this, or are we talking about this as a character trait? Because, like, for example, like I just myself, I know I've had times where I'm like, well, I'll be like giddy, but like I'm not like a giddy person.
Right. I think it's 100% he means a person, because he says lo yihye adam bal skok v'hetal.
When I found it means it should be not the man.
You mean he doesn't? Are you saying?
He said I was the man. And
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like if he's using everything in the context of all the time, and it's not like saying you should be not the man.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
What do you mean?
Well, what else? What do you mean?
Yeah, doesn't Samantha mean the person who can be sad when he needs to be sad and like giddy when he needs to?
So it does seem to be a little bit more than that, right? Yeah, meaning because we saw the category before about the unfeeling. Now that was in regards to anger, right? The unfeeling or the wrathful person being 2 extremes. I feel like the middle sameach does seem to be positive. Right? I mean,
What do you mean by positive?
meaning that it's not just the idea of the fluidity. I don't think.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
And which might be why you have to talk about it.
It has that connotation.
Yeah, definitely doesn't have that, or denotation, neither connotation nor
Yeah.
denotation, yeah. Sameach is happy.
This denotation.
Denotation is the dictionary definition, connotation is the implications that surround it or the association. So for example, if you said that someone is slim, a slim build versus scrawny, those mean the same thing, but scrawny has like an unhealthy type like thing, or like heavy versus like obese, yeah, right, so yeah, so sameach denotes happy, like that's the dictionary definition, and then sameach, in terms of all our associations, I don't think there's any association that doesn't involve like smiles and like, yeah.
Right.
So maybe this is why he's saying that he has to identify what the middle path is here, because you might think, for example, I think there are philosophies where you would, the middle path would be like serene, or like just not in a positive emotional state.
Unfeeling.
Was it?
Unfeeling.
Unfeeling, yeah. Stoic with a lowercase s, like or like apathetic,
So what is this?
So this is happy, but I mean, we have to figure out what the happiness is. This is not the happiness in terms of like life happiness, and this is also not the happiness in terms of v'samachta b'chagecha. Like it's not rejoicing,
Is it like Sameach B'chalka?
That's where I'm getting the impression of. There's sameach b'chalkot, or like takas asher lo avarta es Hashem l'tachah b'simcha v'tuv levav mirov kol. That's talking about you should serve God out of simcha and gladness of heart, and that's a perpetual thing. That's not just like when you do tefillin or when you do tzedakah, you should like put on a smile. Like it means like in a general state.
Wait, it's saying like it makes you happy, or like
That when you, well, actually, that's a good question. That's a fair question. I mean,
like either it does or it doesn't. Like you're not in control of like what. Either you're making yourself happy, like you're forcing like a positive association on it, or like it's just doing it on its own.
Yeah, it could be a reciprocal thing though. I don't know. That's also, I guess I brought up a complicated case by mistake, but what I meant in bringing it up is like, it would seem to be the person who is Oved Hashem is sameach constantly, in this way. Yeah. Let's finish the halacha first, and then spoke. Kach Amar Chachamim spoke v'kalus rosh margilin le'erva. That itself is a big clue about what he means by spoke. That the Chachamim said that spoke and frivolity accustom a person to like. I think here it's fair to translate as promiscuity, right? I don't think like not datka like Isuri via the Rachayev Paris that are listed in Parshas Acharemos, but like erva meaning like sexual promiscuity, or sexual like indulgence or excess. V'tzivu shelo yehi adam parutz bischot, and they commanded that a person should not. I don't know how parutz means to breach barriers, but I don't know how you describe someone, a person as a parutz. Person shouldn't be a parutz in scope. A barrier breaker. I mean, I don't know. Like, is there a good English term for that? Shouldn't cross the line. What? Parutz is to breach a barrier or to break a fence or to break a wall.
Is there something else? Like God?
Yeah, you shouldn't be porous through the barriers to see Hashem at Har Sinai. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be an interesting thing. I never listened to the Rambam Bekius, but it'll be interesting if the. Usually, I think I can hear you in Mishlei, but with the you hear the air much louder over here.
Right.
But yeah, whatever. Okay, thanks. Yeah. What do you call it? See, if you were a quiet person, you wouldn't be able to be so fluid as to talk louder. Yeah. Yeah. My guess here is when it says parts bespoke, it means like making inappropriate jokes or joking around that's not befitting of the scenario. Like. I mean, I don't know if this is the best example, but like, I don't know if it's talking. Okay. I don't know if it's talking about situationally or in terms of the norm. For example, like we all know it's fun to joke about like about death, but at a funeral it's inappropriate, or like you can make fun of like there's like inside jokes between family members that if you're doing it like in a public setting it would be like inappropriate, So like it could be situationally or it could be in terms of like how far you go in your joking in general. I don't really know, but if you contrast it, lo active umisabel, and not sad or mournful. Oh, we noted this last time. This is a new deah, right? Ella makbil es kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafos. He should greet every person with a cheerful countenance, a beautiful face. Yeah.
This is thinking outside.
And that was joking, not mourning.
That didn't sound as if it was an additional thing. Different thing that one day.
Right. Didn't you say last time that the first sentence sounds like how you are in isolation, and then the second one has to do with like how you are with other people? Certainly the middle path here seems to be how you relate to other people. Greet every person cheerfully. You can't do that alone. Right?
That's something after saying is.
Sameach is alone, yeah.
It sounds like a slightly different thing. The saver panim yafos.
Yeah.
Great. You didn't use the word same word as oxygen on the flip side.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing also. The flip sides are half same and half different. Atzev ve'onin and then atzev u'misabel.
Yeah.
Here's another thing, and maybe, I don't know if I'm right to make this deah here, but onin is an actual state of grief. Misabel is one who is making himself mournful, like literally, like hisabel is to make yourself engage in acts of mourning. Whereas onin is just the state that you are as soon as the person dies, you know?
What was the difference here?
So the difference here is that I think this is consistent with what we said so far. In the first sentence, it's talking about your emotional disposition, and that's alone, and then that's also like it's focusing on the emotions. And then in the second sentence, it's talking about actions. You shouldn't break barriers with your joking, or, and I don't know how you say atzev here, be atzev and then act like mournfully. Rather, you should greet every person with a cheerful face. Yeah.
Just remember,
I have an idea now.
yeah, you had a good explanation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It sounds like it's ringing a bell, but I don't
Yeah.
remember what I said.
That what it's basically like making like taking like taboo subjects and like making them like, treating them in like a lighthearted way to undo the feeling of taboo.
That's interesting. I mean, to go on the flip side.
Not intending to.
No, right. But in other words, yeah. I think this will supplement it. Is that I mean, I assume Rabbi Moskowitz got this from Freud, but like that Freud held that all humor either comes down to aggressive or sexual, you know, and that's what elicits the uncontrollable laugh reaction, or like just the laugh, is that you've tapped into that in a way that is not direct. It's like, you know, you see someone slipping on a banana peel and like you laugh, but you know, you see someone like knock down, you know, a defenseless person to like physically like harm them, and like it's not funny, you know, because there in the second case you're faced with the raw aggression that you have, and like you don't want to face that. But like if you do it in this other like roundabout way or whatever, you know, then you can outlet that aggression in a manner that bypasses the guilt, you know. So like that's the type of like breaking the barrier type thing where the person goes like too far in that direction in the sexual, and then it becomes like you know, it opens up the channels of the sexual, which is bad for your relationship to arouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Just I think there's similar phenomena with like sexual innuendos.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like it's not explicitly sexual.
Yeah.
But it might do it.
Right. I'm just laughing at Arrested Development. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even remember the line. They were trying to make a sexual innuendo, but it wasn't. It was like not sexual at all. But they're just saying it as if they were saying a sexual innuendo, and that was funny. Like, you know, yeah. I can't remember the line. Okay. So I had an idea. Is it? Can we say that the first half is the deah, and the second sentence is the actions that correspond to the deah? The deah, and that fits in with the way that he's saying it. Also, is that the first one is the person shouldn't be X, Y, Z emotional state. Rather, and you know, and then he says why, and then he says the Chachamim commanded you to blah blah blah, and that's talking about the actions associated with that deah. Like in other words, how do you promote being sameach? Is mirror neurons. You know, is you yeah, that's in fashion. I feel like I've heard everyone mention that like in the last, like not here, even on like stuff I'm listening to. Yeah. But yeah. But did I tell you about the Sefer Panim Yafos experiment? that we did. I did this last year and the year before with my Shalom students. Is we did an experiment of 30 days of greeting people that you wouldn't have ordinarily greeted, and the net result is all the people who did it made their day better. Like it just made them happier, which is why being in Seattle is best, because people greet each other.
The person
That's
who
what I
was
think, not
greeted,
good.
The person who was doing the
the
greeting,
person who was greeted,
well, what I think it was a reciprocal thing is that
everybody was happy.
yeah, in other words, like I greet you with a smile, and then you smile back because you feel good, and that makes me smile back, and then just promote smiles all around. Yeah,
We should hit New York.
I know it's really, I should have said Seattle. I meant outside of New York. Yeah, yeah.
No, just
Yeah.
That's what in New York.
So is this is that good for this deah and then the actions, and then deah, reason, and then actions? And I don't know why he chooses dafka, the reason of like Margil and Lair.
Was it in middle path?
The middle path is to be sameach, and then the actions that correspond to the middle path is doing actions that cause a reciprocal feeling of simcha. If you have to ask, you'll never know. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Your mind.
aggression. And that's funny. Yeah, that was reciprocal aggression. With a smile. Yeah. Yeah. I still don't know what those are. I gotta look it up. Yeah. Yeah, what is sameach? Plato talks about it. We're not asking about what is human happiness. We're talking about like what is, in this case, yeah, meaning like the emotional disposition of sameach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I want to know that.
Yeah, not for this. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny also like that thing with the in the pasuk I quoted of Tachas Asher Lavadas Hashem L'Kavav, the simcha with Tuv Levav. Tuv Levav is also a synonym of this, of like gladness. I mean, don't we know what the mood is of like you're just in a happy mood? Like we use the phrase "I'm in a happy mood," and when we say that, we don't mean that you are like wildly like euphoric, and we also don't mean that you are in accordance with philosophical happiness. Like I'm in a good mood, like I'm happy. Like is it possible? Well, I'm asking, is that possible that that's what he's talking about? Because he does contrast it with sad and mournful, so that definitely is an opposite. But then is the like maybe sok and hetel is like a euphoric, like manic type thing. That might actually be a good term, manic and manic and depressed. I'm not saying like clinically, but in terms of the two moods. Hetel, we don't have a green dictionary. Let me look it up online.
Why does he does use both, like in the first sentence he uses both as when he's talking about the personality, but then in the second one where he's talking about Badal, he also uses both.
Right.
So
So scope can mean an activity or an action. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if that's not what you were asking.
well, no, yeah, that kind of yeah. No, the fact that like
Right,
he uses both as it seems like he's using it both as people are making that feel.
Yeah.
Using it as a
Well,
character trait and
it is saying ball scope the first time,
oh.
and then the second time is the action of scope. I don't know. That's what I'm not sure about. I mean, Kalos Rosh definitely seems to be an action or a.
Could be a ball.
Doesn't seem to have it.
So I think it would be under Pitul.
It's okay.
Let's check it out. Yeah, Hitul is ridicule, mockery, or humor. Yeah, I don't know if that fits in so much here. Hitul. Yeah, Hitul, yeah, I don't get the sense, especially according to our interpretation.
It's like
It's
it's like just like not taking things seriously.
Yeah, so that's what I get for Kalos Rosh.
Yeah.
And maybe that means the same thing with Hitul. Is it a disposition? I mean, it can be a disposition, but it's also a like, like for example, like in Shvis of Yom Tov, I think that's one of the things he mentions. You don't have to run to get Rambam. So just for one line here. Yes. That's the other reason I didn't want to learn over there also, because I feel like I always feel bad like right when they mock, and then we just walk all over.
I
it,
was
you know?
thinking that scene from the beginning of Incredibles.
You know, this is gonna be sad. I have seen The Incredibles, but I think I missed the beginning. I think I like caught it on like something.
It's really right. It's not like it. I'll send it to you after you.
Okay.
Put it on the internet. It's literally like what's happening now.
Oh, okay.
Wait, why would your problem Nintendo meant Talos Roach? It seems to be using it as the, like, because all you saw Roach use it.
Yeah, but why would he deviate in his?
Well, I don't know, but
I think that's what's bothering me is like, what you know. I wouldn't see because usually if he's going to quote a lashon of Chazal,
maybe have some reason. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but just to go back to your other question about Chalat Rosh, so he says in Yom Tov, Adam when a person eats and drinks and rejoices on the festival, and that here Sameach rejoices, Lo yimashech v'yain u'v'skok u'v'kalus rosh. He should not be drawn after wine and spoke and kalus rosh, okay, which sound like activities or moods, okay, not character traits, because wine is not a character trait. V'yomar, and say shekoshi yosif bazeh yarba b'mitzvah, and say you should not say that the more one increases in this, one increases in the mitzvah. Shehashikrus v'haskop harbe v'kalus harosh ina simcha elaholus v'siklus, because drunkenness and excessive joking, interesting he says harbe there, and kalus rosh and frivolity, ina simcha elaholus v'siklus. It's not joy, or it's not rejoicing. It is wildness and foolishness. So whatever we make of that.
Well, I have a question but not only for this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now I'm just confused like when it means to the rights.
For the Yom Tov case?
Yeah.
Well, the Yom Tov case does seem to be do actions that get yourself into a happy mood.
Well, like like this is me lying.
I mean, I think,
You're not used to this, you are just saying.
no, you're not Yotze the mitzvah.
Oh.
Yeah, he says, Angel Simcha, I didn't read it though, but he does say, we are not commanded on holus and siklus, which is he identified that with. And then rather we're commanded on rejoicing that contains in it service of the creator of all. Shnemar, as it says, and he quotes the pasuk, Halamata, you learn from here, avoda v'simcha, that avoda is in simcha. It's impossible to serve Hashem. I mean, that's a separate point. Lo mitov skop, lo mitov kalus rosh, lo mitov shikrut. No, I don't think it's a hard line to draw. Like saying like these are three avenues through which you could exit the realm of simcha into the realm of holulus and siklus. And holulus and siklus are real concepts, you know, of like wildness and foolishness, and yeah. Yeah. And he also, I mean, the next one also is no, whatever we won't. Yeah. So are we okay with this idea that sameach here just means like a happy disposition? Yeah, I think we know what that is, and I think we know people like that. Cheerful, yeah, cheerful.
Why is that the middle half?
What was that?
Why is that the middle half?
That's the question we have to answer. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, never mind.
I guess being cheerful is something that I'd say you can easily change depending on the situation.
Mhm.
Like if you're cheerful and then you hear let's say you hear like good news, you can like it's like it easily like become like more happy if that's the situation calls for.
Mhm.
And the reverse, if you get bad news, like cheerfulness can like dissipate easily.
Although if you were on the highest level, then you would be sameach even when you hear bad news, right? According to the halacha. Yeah.
Yeah, but like not in a
That's a good raya.
yeah. Whereas if let's say you're towards one of the extremes, like if you have like tendency towards sadness, then if you like even if something like good happens, it's hard to switch to being positive. and you're more inclined towards negative, and the reverse.
Mhm.
If you're like excessively like happy in a way you're not like taking things seriously, then it's hard to like grasp the import of like the reality of something.
I would agree with that, yeah. And that's why I am still drawn to the translation of, not translation. I think when he says Baal Tzfok v'Hadol, that is like a manic, giddy person, and Atzev and Onain is like a depressed and like despondent person, or something like, it's talking about mood. Like there are people who are just dark mooded people who just are like Eeyore, in Winnie the Pooh, like, like just constantly like sad, and like brings everyone down, and then there are people who are just like crazy, giddy, not taking stuff seriously, all that other stuff,
That's like a moving area.
Yeah, it is,
And
yeah,
it kicks you off.
right. Yeah, don't be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were asking why is this no path? So I was saying I think it's a hint, the fact that the highest level, like that the Rambam talks about in terms of that you're supposed to be Mavarech Hashem on the Ra just like you are on the Tova, which is with Simcha. That shows, I think, that there is a philosophical reality to being Sameach constantly. In other words, it's not just it's not just like the best artificial state to be in, but there is like there's a deeper reality to that. I'm not saying I'm not saying you need to get to that in order to be the kind of halacha b'drakav. Like the halacha b'drakav, I think just getting the cheerful disposition and your yotzei, but like yeah.
It's just reminding me of this is one of the
Right. True. Right. To get nevuah. To get nevuah. Yeah.
I might be already in one thing.
As long as we're not stab worms.
What is that fascinating there?
Oh. Yeah. What is the chassid in this day? I mean, which side do you incline towards even? Well, that according to the theory we said it's not dependent on the person.
Okay.
Didn't we? The theory we said, I mean,
We
well, we said two theories, right? The old theory of chassid is that you have to adjust which direction you're inclined in, and that will depend on where you're at. But then we said the one that primes you for what is more in line with the what is it? Yeah. Say again? Oh, now I can hear you.
That's a theory that we like.
That's the theory we like with the priming. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's what makes it a good question.
I would guess it's a little more to the side of Atzev and Onain, because that is more the side of like taking reality seriously.
Yeah, I would guess that also. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, that was it.
If you can see cases where we have to be Atzev and Onain, but I can't think of a single like thing where we are. And I mean, I'm not saying I know all of them, but like where we are encouraged or we're virtuous to engage in scope and head. I mean, I know in terms of human interactions, like you have to think about when you're with your wife or whatever, there's that. But I'm saying like as a philosophical ideal, for example, Onain is not just in, well, what is the philosophically perfection oriented Onain, being Onain? There's a pasuk that's like central to being Onain.
I don't remember the mother, but I think
You know what I'm talking about? It's in Eicha, but I think the wrong quote's in Hilchos Deios. Ma'is Onain Adam Chai Geber al Chata'av. What can a living man be Onain about? Each man on his sins. That is worthy of being Onain. And that's different than there's the aninus of like someone dies and you're thrown into a sadness. That's just a natural human reaction. I don't think there's a philosophical perfection in there. That's just what it is. But being Onain on your sins, and then Etzev is also an interesting thing because at least by design, I mean, the onshim of Adam and Chava, yeah. I don't know, getting it.
Onain.
Oh, Oh no.
You're funny.
Yeah. The onshim of Adam and Chava both involved etzev, right? So that might not be like the plan A state, but like it is, etzev is part of human existence by design after Adam and Chava.
So just to go back on what we were saying about Hassid,
Yeah.
the newly revised
Yeah.
thing that we said. So does that thing that there's like an objective, meaning like only one way can bring you closer, meaning like we're saying it's not a subjective thing. There is like an objective Hassid, so to speak, where like he is like doing the objective thing that brings you closer.
So the way we said it is like this: is let's take the rachamim and cruelty, okay, and then whatever's in the middle, or let's say like excessive, you know, whatever you want to call excessive rachamim, and then like milpat rachamim, and then cruelty, right? So the chacham is going to be the one who's completely fluid and he can do whatever is necessary. However, more often than not, Ratzon Hashem will demand rachamim than cruelty. So he will like be inclined towards that side, towards the side of excess rachamim, so that because when things call for it, he'll be able to snap into action in a much more natural, quicker way, because he'll already be inclined towards that, you know. So that's why when we say objective, in Ratzon Hashem, maybe the term I would use better is like statistically speaking. Statistically speaking, in each deah, there are sides that Ratzon Hashem will more often be in line with, and the chassid will strive to err on that side. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I'm happy with this.
Oh. Okay.
But not too bad.
No.
Not euphoric. We wouldn't want that. All right. Last one in all of Hilchos Deios.
This isn't,
What?
you're not fluid though. So why is it vanity?
Okay. Ready for the next step? Is maybe being in a happy mood is the most fluid emotional mood.
I thought it was the same.
What was it?
I thought it was
Yeah.
the same.
I mean, we certainly didn't say it explicitly, but like, yeah,
I did.
isn't it?
That was what I was trying to say before, by being cheerful. Like, being cheerful, you're most able to move towards either.
Yeah, if you think about the synonyms for cheerful, like, people say that so-and-so has a very agreeable nature, or like simpatico, you know. I mean, it's a Spanish. Okay, you guys didn't grow up on the West Coast, I guess you don't know as much, but I think I made it into English. I got to look at that.
I've heard the word before,
Simpatico.
but like not common.
Simpatico of a person likable and easy to get along with.
Sounds
Yeah.
like compatible.
But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean fluid though.
Easy to get along with is the definition of fluid.
Well, wait, is it?
Yeah.
Is it
Well, for people, it is,
Yeah,
but
because not everyone's the same. So if you're
being able to agree with people, but that then you can't disagree with people.
oh no, I don't think that's what we mean by that. I mean like a person who's capable of going with the flow and like not providing a clash. Not that you're inclined to agree with people. That's a disease.
Right,
Yeah.
it's like, no, but if you go with the flow, then you can't not go with the flow. If you need to.
No, that's exactly what going with the flow means.
No, but
Yeah,
what if
yeah,
you
I'm
need to
gonna-
clash?
Yeah,
Like,
but if there's
it
something
has to go
wrong.
against, like, you need to do something like.
Yeah, so we're talking about the middle thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
The
can
middle,
That'll be fluid. I'm saying.
That'd be
going with
fluid,
the
yeah,
flow is not fluid.
oh, okay.
Going-
No,
No,
because you can ask the same kushya on your theory as what you just said, which is, what if you need to not be fluid?
No. If you, no, you need to do certain actions.
Yeah.
And if you, like, fluid means you do any action you need to do.
Yeah,
Going with the flow means you just, whatever happens, you go along.
I'm not using the word go with the flow. I'm using the phrase go with the flow like be water.
Meaning do it, being fluid.
Yeah.
So is that synonym of being happy?
No, I'm saying that happiness is the emotional disposition that lends itself most to being able to go with the flow on the spectrum of despondency and overly giddy. Overly giddy, you can't even really. You're not even like when you see people who are overly giddy, then it's like they're not even responding to the stimuli around them. It's like just this. Actually, both of them really are like that in a way, right? Like people who are overly depressed are too withdrawn. Yeah.
People who are happy or not either. They're just always happy. they're not responding to the same.
No, no.
No, I don't think that's like happiness. Yeah,
No, when you like a happy guy, like a happy disposition, like
yeah,
something hard for being sad, or like immediately set into that mindset.
yeah. Meaning like,
Like, or like you're like a happy person, and then you feel like an alcohol guy, and you're not a happy person.
So what do we mean he's always happy? I thought we were saying he's always happy.
A happy disposition. is
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Maybe it's once he's sad, he doesn't have a happy disposition anymore. Now he has a sad disposition. Or that time.
right.
So then it's just another disposition. There's sad disposition, happy
Well, I don't think
disposition.
that fine is.
No, I think that's losing the idea though. I think that when you're in a sad disposition, your ability to,
Clarify. When you say like you should be sad in a particular instance, we're not meaning like you should have a sad disposition, like.
yeah, I mean, you should feel
actually
sadness,
be
right,
sad.
right.
Like,
Disposition means like your general-
Actually happy.
Yeah.
Like, that person is fine.
Yeah, I mean, see,
Right.
okay, I know people like this, but I don't know if you know the same people. So like, I don't know, but like,
Can I say someone?
Yeah.
who we know?
Yeah, sure,
that-
sure.
Everyone has now, that's not right?
yeah, no, it's not, yeah.
Right, I was going to ask you. Right, you I had, yeah, no, like, not like, I don't know, when like a situation offer like a more serious tone, then like you didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But it's like his default.
I just, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen him like, tell people that what they were doing is wrong, not in those words, and like, in a much more agreeable way, but where he was like specifically like telling someone to do something else, even though he's a very agreeable person.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mean like, right, like.
and then just to piggyback on that, just well, before we lose the point, is that that emotional state is the most fluid of the default emotional states you can be in, more so than emo and like euphoric.
Right, it's not the thing to be in that state of happiness all the time. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
We're saying having a disposition of your default being happy.
Right.
Lends itself to being able to transfer to whatever the situation calls for.
Yeah.
As opposed to either extreme, which it doesn't lend itself to being able to transfer from your default to what the situation
Yeah.
calls for.
Yeah,
Okay, so the middle is not, is being about, it's not being in a state of, it's being about.
what do you mean by the difference? Just to make sure I understand.
Like, I do being in a state of simcha is like actually feeling happy right now. So that's not always, being in the middle is not always being happy,
Right.
but it's being
I
a
see what you
person who
I mean, this
just, yeah.
That's their anchor. That's their default.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Let me just pause this for a second. Yeah. All right. Should we tackle the last halacha in the last 12 minutes? V'chein lo yihye bal nefesh rachava nivhal lahon. You shouldn't be a wide-souled person, which I don't know what that means, but it means nivhal lahon. Like what's nivhal? I know it means like I was gonna say crambling, but that's not a thing. Scrambling after, there must have been another thing I said. Chasing and scrambling after money. What? No, that's making shoes. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, that's making shoes. Cobbler, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Rushing.
Rushing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Below atzel bal batami malacha, and not a someone who's lazy and idle from work. So this is how you relate to money, it seems, or how you relate to livelihood, maybe, right? So there are people who are just every second of the day they're just trying to get more and more money, and then there are people who are lazy and not working and not working at all, or like.
Is it a money thing or a work thing?
That's why I'm going. Hon is wealth and malacha is working. So ela bal ayin tova. Rather, he should be generous, right? That's what ayin tova means. Ma'at asek, reducing his business involvement. Ve'osek b'Torah, and being involved in Torah. Ve'osu hama'at shu chelko yismach bo. Oh no, some and that little amount that is his portion, he should be content with. You know. A good example of this, by the way, which was referenced in one of the eulogies for Rabbi Wolf, but it was referenced very fast, is that he worked 4 days a week, and then he would always, I think, this was not said in eulogy, I think, but I remember not growing up, growing up in yeshiva, but that his kids would say that like their dad would be home when they left for school, and he would be home by the time they got back. Like he would work for just a few hours in the day to be able to and then also go to Torah. Like that's that's the ideal. Like all the people in this community that like somehow make tons of money and never seem to work. I have no idea what they do, but they're doing it. Yeah. But yeah.
I think we're on a sitcom, like, they're just always at the bar, like.
Right, yeah. At the I was gonna try and make a bar mitzvah joke, but that doesn't work. Like what was that? Yeah, it's very low bar. Below Yihye Bal Tata. Yeah.
The simple, I think, is
Yeah.
that he described a course of action and saying your deah should be the deah that would make you happy with this course of action.
That's interesting. That's how you're saying the Smith part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That he described a plan of action. But your deah should be the deah that lines up with this plan of action.
Yeah, this is the most dissected he's done in terms of the middle path. He usually does like a 1-word or 2-word thing. This is Bal Ayin Tova Ma'at Esek V'Osek B'Torah V'Osah Ma'ashu Chalko Yitzmachko. That's it's painting a picture of what this person's relationship to money and work is like, right? Is that he worked a little bit, primarily involved in Torah, is generous with his money and happy with what he makes. Like that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard to describe what the character trait there is.
Yeah, right. Okay, v'lo yeh bal kata, v'lo bal kina. He shouldn't be a contentious person, which there's a lot of talking in the Mishnah about the contentious wife. I think we've had at least one puzzle about that, right? There's the better dwell on the roof of a house, on the corner of a roof than, was that not us?
something about keeping work.
Yeah, that was the thing. The
Oh,
dwell on
yeah,
the
yeah.
corner of a roof than to be in
A drippy house.
drippy house. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Was that not?
I don't think it was corner roof.
Okay, the two things that involve the
Yeah.
contentious wife, so-
The drippy thing is
Better contentious wife than a drippy roof or something like that.
I think it's
I think I compared a contentious wife to a drippy roof.
we gotta look at it. Hold on a second, this is gonna bother me. What do you remember the deah torrid? What? Deah torrid was
It's in chapter 19. You can say
Okay.
that much because
that's when we did.
Yeah, the review.
Right. See what happens when we don't do. That's why. All right. Havus la'aviv ben ksil the deah torrid midyani isha. Yeah. So yeah, that must have been the one we did. Like a battered, like blows to a father is the son, is a foolish son, and like a dripping, like a maddening dripping is the contentiousness of the wife, right? Yeah. I was thinking about the other one is tov lasheves alpinas gag, than to be with a contentious wife. Yeah. Okay. So you shouldn't be contentious. Below balkina, you shouldn't be jealous, right? Envious. Below bal taiva, you shouldn't be desirous, libidinous. Depending on whether you want to say taiva is like all desires or whether it's specifically sexual. Below rodif afar kavod, you shouldn't be ambitious. I mean, in the sense of like kavod ambition. So these are not opposites. These are just other deos. Kaf amru chachamim hakina v'taiva v'kavod motzinas adam min ha'olam. So that's what we say: kina, jealousy; tava, desire, but kavod, but not contention. Interesting, he doesn't, right? Remove a person from the world. Okay, and then so the question. Okay, then let's end it off and then go back. Klal shadavar, the sum of the matter. Yelach b'midah habenu should pull deah. A person should follow the middle measure in each and every deah. Until all of his deos are oriented in the middle. This is what Shlomo said, all of your ways will be made firm. So the question is, what was he doing in that middle part of like that's not going to fit into the explanation we said before. The explanation we said before about all the stuff after arrogance and haughtiness was these are middle paths that are either very difficult to identify or very difficult to enact. Here he's not even saying what middle path is. He's just saying like other watch out for these 4 Deos. Yeah.
It seems like in this parak, he's talked about pretty much all of like the Deios that like are commonly talked about.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe he didn't talk about all of them, but like it seems like he was like this overall like went through like common Deos and like how to approach them. And these 4 are not too complicated to try to figure out, so he's not going in depth into them. But you know, in terms of arrogance, you know, he has spent a lot of time talking about it. In terms of anger, you know, but other Deos, you can figure it out, and these are just common, like the 4 that he just mentioned are, I guess, like commonly talked about, but like don't require a lot of explanation.
Could be. But you know what bothers me the most? I was joking before, but what bothers me the most is the bal katata. Like if he just said balkina baltaiva and then rodav kavod, and then he said that these 3 things remove a person from the world, then I would feel like that's one category of Deos that like was all warned against, because we don't say that all bad Deos remove you from the world. But then the fact that he throws in bal katata sounds like it's gonna be something like what Isaac's saying, but then why bring in the Chazal? Like I feel like contentious or quarrelsome or like you know, picking fights.
Why don't you think that like takes you like?
Well, Chazal don't think that. So I mean, I don't know what Chazal mean by it. I'm just saying, like in terms of
It doesn't fall to that category.
Yeah, it doesn't fall into that category. If they include it in the category, or if the Rambam didn't mention it, then I would just say, oh yeah, now the Rambam, after going through all the difficult middle path things, is going through particularly bad Deos that aren't so bad as Gaiva and Kas, but like remove you from the world, whatever that means. And yeah.
Well, in the 3rd parak in right at the beginning,
Oh yes.
he says he only brings down Tava and Kavod.
Yeah.
He says that those are worth the antonym.
That's true.
So it could just be like saying all of these are, or you know,
Okay, you know what we're gonna have to do? I think the next course of action will have to be to next week to read the first halacha in or first, you know, whatever paragraph in the 3rd parak, and then look at the Rambam in the Pirush HaMishnayos on Pirkei Avos that says Kina and Tava and Kavod remove the person from the world. Because, and then that might answer it. Yeah. Maybe the timing will work out. I have no idea what Dubai time is.
maybe.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah. All right, it's a good place to stop though.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, that was a fun journey, Parachani. That was I think that was a good lesson. I mean, I know we said this before. I'm just gonna say it again. I think the fact that we had a semblance of understanding from the first parak, and then every step we took through the second parak, at least through the first half of it, you know, and a little bit into the silent stuff also, really forced us to refine the system. And I feel like not all areas in the Rambam are going to lend themselves to that, because that's just not the nature. Like that's the nature of Hilchos Deios, dealing with like an approach to the personality. And the more you deal with an approach to the personality, and the more aspects of the personality you examine, the more you're going to understand the entire thing. But it was a good experience, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. Get off with the world. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's stop.